We're surrounded by all this tech, but have you ever stopped to think about the tiny invisible decisions happening inside it every single second? Well, hiding in plain sight is this unsung hero, a tiny little component that's an absolute master of timing. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the R101AT3. So let me ask you a simple question. What's the absolute best time to turn on a light bulb? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Whenever I flip the switch, right? Well, what about your TV or your phone charger? Turns out the answer is way more precise than you'd imagine. And getting it wrong, it actually puts a lot of stress and wear and tear on all those gadgets you love.
So, to really get why this timing is so important, we have to talk about the power itself. The electricity coming out of your wall socket. It's not quite as simple as you think.
See, the power in your house, that's AC, or alternating current, it isn't some nice steady stream like water from a faucet. No way. It's actually a giant wave, a sine wave, that's constantly surging up to a peak and then crashing back down over and over again. Just picture a powerful ocean wave, rising and falling 60 times every single second. Okay, so what happens if you decide to flip that switch right at the very peak of that wave, when the voltage is at its absolute max? Well, it's kind of like trying to jump onto a merry-go-round when it's spinning at full speed. Bam! It's a massive jolt to the system. You get this huge inrush of current that really stresses out the electronics, shortens their lifespan, and just wastes a ton of energy. It's a rough start, and trust me, our gadgets hate it.
All right, so if hitting the peak is the worst time to switch something on, it stands to reason there's got to be a best time, right? And you'd be right. There is. It's this beautiful, elegant solution that's all about timing. It's a little piece of magic that engineers call zero crossing.
The zero crossing point. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's that split second, that tiny moment when the AC wave is passing through 0 volts. It's not high, it's not low, it's nothing. It is the absolute calmest point in the whole cycle, and that is the perfect moment to switch something on. It's the gentlest, most efficient way to do it. But the big question is, how on earth do you catch that fleeting moment?
Well, you could try to build some big, complicated circuit to find it, or you could do what modern electronics does best, find a tiny, super specialized chip that's designed to do just one thing and do it perfectly. And that, my friends, is where our little hero finally enters the story.
And here it is, the RY101AT3. I know, it doesn't look like much, does it? But this little guy is an absolute genius when it comes to timing. Its entire job, its whole reason for being, is just to sit there and watch that power wave, constantly waiting for that one perfect instant where the voltage hits 0.
Man, look, the datasheet says it all right there. A special chip for zero crossing detection. This thing isn't a jack of all trades. It is a precision instrument, laser-focused on one single critical task. And that's the real beauty of modern engineering, isn't it? Taking a universal problem and creating this tiny, cheap, perfectly optimized solution for it.
So what makes this little chip so darn smart? Well, for starters, it's unbelievably efficient. It uses less than 10 microamps of current. To put that in perspective, that's just sipping power. It's barely using anything. Then, it's highly integrated. It has key parts like diodes built right in, so you need fewer extra components around it, which is great for designers. And maybe best of all, it's got noise filtering. So all those little glitches and spikes on the power line, it just ignores them, so it never gets tricked. It's just smart, simple, and tough.
Okay, so we know what it does, but how does it do it? How does this tiny little watcher actually know the exact moment to raise the flag and say go? The way it works is, well, it's both really simple and kind of genius.
All right, let's take a look. Here's the chip in a typical circuit. Its natural habitat, you could say. The real magic is in how it plays with the other parts around it, especially that little capacitor, C1. The whole thing works like a tiny dam, you know? It stores up a little bit of energy and then releases it at the perfect moment.
Let's break it down step by step. First, when that big AC wave is high, the chip basically opens a little valve and lets some of that energy fill up the capacitor. Think of it like filling a tiny bucket with water. Then, as the wave starts to fall back down towards 0, the chip is watching. It senses that drop. And then, pulse. Right at the exact moment the wave hits 0, the chip throws open a gate. All that energy stored in the capacitor rushes out in one clean, sharp signal. It's basically shouting at the rest of the device, "Go! Now's the time."
Now, I know that sounds pretty technical, right? But this one simple, clever trick that this tiny chip performs has a huge impact on the stuff we use every single day. So where are these little guys hiding?
Oh, they are everywhere. Seriously. They're in your washing machine, making sure the motor starts up smoothly. They're in heavy-duty power equipment and those big industrial robots that need perfect timing. They're even in those fancy RGB light strips, making sure all the colors stay perfectly in sync. This tiny chip is like the invisible conductor of a giant electronic orchestra.
So what's the bottom line? By making sure our devices turn on in that calmest, most gentle moment, this chip protects them. It's that simple. It means your gadgets last longer, they're more reliable, and they run more efficiently. It's one of those tiny little things that makes a massive difference.
And now for what might be the most incredible part of this whole story, the price. Get this. This little marvel of engineering, this tiny guardian of efficiency and timing that makes pretty much everything around us work better, costs about 4 cents. I'm not kidding. 4 cents for that level of perfection.
So next time you turn on a light, or start your coffee maker, or fire up your computer, just stop for a second and think about it. How many of these hidden heroes, these tiny 4-cent guardians, are working all around you right now? Just silently watching, waiting for that perfect calm moment to make sure everything just works.